We now want to try and extract internal schema details by using error-based SQL injection. Now, we already know a couple of things that we could combine together like this. So let's just close off this string, we'll add a clause, and we'll say where 1 equals, and then we'll just add a subquery. Select top1 name from sys.tables. Comment out the rest, run that, and here we can see the name of our first table, webpages underscore membership. And of course we see it because it's trying to compare that string to the integer up here, that is number 1, and of course it doesn't compare, and that's why we see this data type to int conversion failure. So this is great. We now know that the first table in sys.tables is webpages underscore membership. But what's the second table? How are we going to actually start enumerating through these results? Because the problem with error-based injection is that we can only really get one result at a time. So to start enumerating through the results, let me jump over and show you a quick image that explains what we're going to do. Then we'll jump into SSMS and test out the query, and finally come back to the browser and make sure it works. Let me show you what I mean. Here's what we're going to do. We want to do some enumeration of a database table. And in this case, it's sys.tables. Now what we have to do is just get one result back to the web interface. Because if we get one result, like we saw just now in the browser, we can try and compare that to an integer, let the exception get raised, and then bubble up into the web interface. Now we can get row 1, that's what we just did. But what happens when we want to get, say, row 4? How are we going to get that? Here's what we'll do. We're going to write a query that selects the top 4 records in ascending order. So we'll get row 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that's going to be one result set. Now from that one result set, we're going to select the top 1 result descending. So we're going to go back the other way. We're going to query the results of a query. We're just going to query it in the other direction. Now if we can do that with the top 4, we can also do it with the top 5 and the top 6, and we can enumerate through the records like that. So let's jump over to SSMS and I'll show you what that looks like. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start with a familiar statement, and I'm going to select out of sys.tables, but I only want to take the top 1 result, and you'll see why in a moment. So let's select top 1 name from sys.tables, and we'll order by name. We'll F5, make sure that runs. And now what I want to do is I want to make this a subquery. So I actually want to wrap another query around this. So let's jump back. I'll give it a couple of clear lines for readability there. And now I'm going to wrap another statement around this. And it'll be select top 1 name from, and then bracket, and we'll make that existing query on line 3 the subquery. Then we'll jump down after it, a little bit more room for readability again. We'll close off that subquery, and now we need to alias it. And what I mean by an alias is any string that we can refer to this result set by. We're not actually going to need to reference it anywhere else, but we have to have an alias. So I'll just give it a T for table, and then order by name descending. So we're going to order it back the other way. Now if we run that, we'll get one result. But now let's do this. Let's take this internal query and we'll increment it by 1. So we'll make this number 2 now, and then we'll run again. Now just before I do, see the result we've got is city. So there's a table called city. Now we'll F5 to run. Now we've got a table called color. Let's change this to the top 3. Now we've got a table called occupation. Top 4. Now we've got a table called president. And if we go to top 5, we're still going to have president because it's still going to be the last result in the list. We know there's only 4 tables in this database. President. 6, still president. 7, still president. So that's how we can easily find all of the tables one at a time, and of course also easily know when we reach the end of the list of tables. So now that we understand how that works, let's do this. I'm going to jump up and I'm going to put all of this just on one line, because it's going to make it much easier to then select it all, copy it, and then take it over to the browser and use it to extract data from our live system. Let's jump over there now.